Back to the book. Keys to Mastery. Among his various possible beings, each man always finds one which is his genuine and authentic being. The voice which calls him to that authentic being is what we call vocation. But the majority of men devote themselves to silencing that voice of vocation and refuse to hear it. They manage to make it a noise within themselves, to distract their own attention in order to not hear it. And they defraud themselves by substituting for their genuine selves a false course of life. Defrauding themselves for their genuine selves for a false course of life. I love that quote. That quote is by Jose Ortega Gasset, or Gazette. Jose Ortega Gazette. Apologies if I just butchered your name, Jose. But beautiful quote. The voice which calls him to be that authentic being we call vocation. And vocation is such an interesting word. When I looked it up, it was this divine calling, a spiritual divine calling, or calling by God. A vocation in your life is something that's a divine calling of your authentic self. Perhaps you would look at it as what you were meant to do here. Is your vocation. It's what you really were set here to do, if you believe in such things. And I never thought about it before. I always thought vocation was just like, the job I work. But it's not. It's that divine calling, that authentic self. Reading this book, you think, and I have thought throughout my life, I can just play a character. And because that's what I did when I was younger, is I was really, really great at drama. And I would be the lead in a myriad of different plays and musicals. I would learn monologues and scripts so easily and effortlessly, and I could perform in front of hundreds of people without any anxiety whatsoever. And I loved doing that. It was always so much joy to hear the audience, gasp or cry or laugh with you. And it's so much fun. If you've never done that before, I'd highly recommend doing something like that. And so I approached life the same way I approached these plays, and the same way I approach these musicals, is that I approached life as if I was a character to play, not understanding that I already had a character to play. And so circumstances would arise and I would adopt a character. Circumstances would, fall at my feet and I would adopt a character. I would need to undertake certain actions in my life, say work real estate, say work sales, say work jobs, say work this, say work that. And I would adopt the particular character I thought best fit that situation so that I could just manage myself through it. And it's funny, the things that we do because we believe we have to do those things. For what reason? I don't know. And then you forget your authentic self. Like he says, defraud themselves by substituting for their genuine selves a false course of life. Defrauding themselves. What an interesting phrase. Back to the book. Many of the greatest masters in history have confessed to experiencing some kind of force or voice or sense of destiny that has guided them forward. For Napoleon Bonaparte, it was his star that he always felt an ascendance when he made the right move. For Socrates, it was his daemon, a voice that he heard, perhaps from the gods, which inevitably spoke to him in the negative, telling him what to avoid. For Goethe, he also called it a daemon, a kind of spirit that dwelled within him and compelled him to fulfill his destiny. In more modern times, Albert Einstein talked of a kind of inner voice that shaped the direction of his speculations. All of these are variations on what Leonardo da Vinci experienced with his own sense of fate. Such feelings can be seen as purely mystical, beyond explanation, or as hallucinations and delusions. But there is another way to see them, as eminently real, practical, and explicable. It can be explained in the following way. All of us are born unique. This uniqueness is marked genetically in our DNA. We are at one time phenomenon in the universe. Our exact genetic makeup has never occurred before, nor will it ever be repeated. For all of us, this uniqueness first expresses itself in childhood through certain primal inclinations. For Leonardo, it was exploring the natural world around his village and bringing it to life on paper in his own way. So Leonardo, in the story, as a young boy, he would steal paper from his father's or his father's office. He was a bastard child, so there's a taboo about him being around. But he would steal paper from his father's office, which at that time, paper was a kind of a rare commodity. And he would go around his village and he would sketch things that he would see. Rocks, trees, houses, whatever it was. And he loved doing that. It was just this natural calling for him to go and explore the world like that. And so, just back to the book, is that for others, it can be an early attraction to visual patterns, often an indication of future interest in mathematics. Or it can be an attraction to particular physical movements or spatial arrangements. How can we explain such inclinations? They are forces within us that come from a deeper place than conscious words can express. They draw us to certain experiences and away from others. As these forces move us here or there, they influence the development of our minds and in very particular ways. This primal uniqueness naturally wants us to assert and express itself, but some experience it more strongly than others. With masters, it is so strong that it feels like something that is its own external reality, a force, a voice, a destiny. In moments when we engage it in an activity that corresponds to our deepest inclinations, we might experience a touch of this. We feel as if the words we write or the physical movements we perform come so quickly and easily that they are coming from outside us. We are literally inspired. The Latin word meaning something from the outside breathing within us. Inspired, something from the outside breathing within us. I felt this way every time I would paint. Every time I would pick up a paintbrush, I would lose all sense of self, all sense of reality, and all that existed was was just the paint. I mean, the brushes were there, but really it was just the paint. And I was moving it, and I was there, and it was me, and I was it, and it just was all that there was. And every single time I would paint, it would be this way. And I've painted thousands upon thousands of paintings at this point in time, both on location and in the studio. I've done paintings. On location felt a little bit more transient than just maybe a little bit more spiritual than just in the studio, but not by much. They were both these very, deep, moving experiences. And I always felt that with painting. And I haven't felt that way in anything else in my life. And to be quite truthful with you, I haven't really painted at all for many years now. I've lived an unauthentic self. I've lived an unauthentic life. Simply because it does not pay. I mean, most people, when they talk about this, there's a myriad of different things about it too. But no, there wasn't. I'm just trying to justify it. What it was, this just simply doesn't pay. It doesn't pay well enough. Actually, that's probably a better one. It does pay. It did pay. I did earn, a fair amount from it. But it doesn't pay enough. But it, for better or worse, is my divine calling, my vocation. And what I'm trying to extrapolate now with my life and what I'm doing here is to find some semblance of ways of which I can make this fucking thing work, because I cannot escape it. It constantly calls to me when I sleep, when I'm awake, when I'm dreaming, when I'm not dreaming, when I'm staring into the distance, or when I'm just vegging out. It's just there, calling me, beckoning me, just screaming at me. And I'm trying to put different noises on to blur it out, but I can't. It's my authentic self, and I cannot run from it. And so what I'm trying to do at the moment, what this book is helping me with tremendously, is to try and piece together how I can pull this into reality without, sacrificing the lives of my family for fucking being authentic to myself, And that's the struggle with this. And that's the dark side of mastery, is that you may have a vocation that is not profitable. Unfortunately, in this world, you have to be profitable to survive. It's just, you cannot be it otherwise. And so while I haven't been painting these last many years, what I have been doing has been dedicating myself to the art of sales, the art of business, the art of marketing. And I've been really learning, absorbing, and transforming my mind to understand and incorporate those ideas and teachings into myself.